So, welcome to the overnight. I don't even know where to start. I don't know who I'm more fucking furious about, the Yankees or the Giants. So, I'm going to talk about the Yankees first. We'll get that out of the way quick, because that was an embarrassment again. You know, after the way they lost yesterday, on Saturday, sorry. The way they lost on Saturday, when the game was still in the fucking balance, and then Aaron Boone in a tight game goes to fucking Luke Weaver. And the next thing you know, it went from 2-1 to fucking 10-1 because of the last two innings. And then you needed a fucking bounce back performance from this team. You needed your fucking ace, who's won 19 games and had a good outing in the playoff, in the wild card against the Red Sox. And he did that. And yeah, the first inning, he was in trouble, bailed out by a double play. And then I said it a video or two before. The Yankees cannot afford to be sloppy in the field, because it'll jumpstart the Blue Jays. What happened? Judge misplays that, and the next thing you know, it's 2-0. It's momentum. And then when Fried didn't have it in the third, and then you go to Will Warren. Will Warren saved the bullpen yesterday. I'm just going to, yes, he gave up the fucking grand slam to Vlad, who, at one point had as many hits as the Yankee team in a game in 3 innings than the entire Yankee team. I want to talk about the offense in a minute. And he could have had Warren finish the 8th, but he goes to Weaver, who hasn't recorded it. Well, until yesterday, he hasn't recorded it out. And he's just like, I'm just going to put him in for this last out in the 8th inning. We're down 6. What could fucking, can't hurt, just to get his confidence, just say, I got it out in the fucking playoffs this year. Now I go to the fucking offense. They made Savage, who was making his 4th career MLB start, look like a fucking ace. He struck out 11 in 4 or 5 and a third or something like that, or whatever. I don't know how many fucking innings it was. Struck out 11. At one point, he struck out 4 in a row. He opened the game 4 strikeouts in a row. Then he had another point where he had 6 strikeouts in a row. And they couldn't hit that split finger. And they were getting no hit. It's the same shit in the fucking playoffs. The same fucking shit. Same thing. It doesn't matter the players. It's the same thing. The moment the month goes to October, the bats get fucking are on ice. And every time this team, you think, this can't get any lower. They find a way. And then the minute your Savage left the game, then they started to fucking hit. And that 7 runs they had was fucking cosmetic and whatnot. Will it be, momentum going into the next game? You never know. It could not. You're down 2-0. You've been in this spots before, so it's not like, it isn't foreign to them. Can they take it to 5? They can, but it remains to be seen. Your starting pitching this series has been garbage. Been absolute garbage. Aaron Judge, who's led the playoffs with the most hits, and he's batting .444, but everyone's going to judge him on bases loaded, no out in the 6th inning in Game 1. Everyone's going to judge him on that. He can get a hit in every at-bat the rest of the fucking playoffs, but they're going to fucking judge him on bases loaded, no out, and struck out on a pitch that was ball 4. So that's how everyone's going to see it. I mean, yeah, Cody Bell kind of woke up. Ben Rice has not had a good last couple games. It's an offensive collective. Trent Grisham, 34 home runs, finally got a first hit yesterday. The offense needs to be better earlier. That, like I said, that 7 fucking runs yesterday, cosmetic. To make it look somewhat respectable, and it wasn't. You were down fucking 12-0 at one point. So, be that as it may. So I'm going to tell you, that's it for the Yankees. Game 3, Rodon, must win. He needs to bring it. You have a rested bullpen. That's the only positive out of yesterday, that Will Warren saved the bullpen. So now I'm going to talk about the Giants from yesterday. Bad teams always find ways to lose fucking football games. And you'd figure, all right, you had a good win against an undefeated team at the time, and you're going into New Orleans, and everyone when the schedule came out, this was the game, with the way that the schedule was and the hardest schedule in the league, this was the game like, all right, this is the winnable game. This is the extremely winnable game. You have Kellen Moore, who's a first-year head coach. He's 0-4. You have a quarterback who's never won a game in the NFL. The offense looked good early the first 2 games. The 2 drives. You're up 14-3. And you're figuring, okay, if the offense is just going to keep moving the ball down the field and getting points, the defense will eventually decide to make a stop here and there. And what happened? And this all started with the PI on Deontay Banks that negated a turnover. The Saints went down, kicked a field goal, 14-6. Then the Giants punted on the next drive. And you pin them down, and then 2 plays later, an 87-yard touchdown pass. And everything just went. And then the offense. The last 6 drives were this: fumble, 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 interception, interception, turnover, and downs. And especially when the first 2 drives were really good, and you're moving to and the killer was all 5 turnovers were in Saints territory. Yes, there are going to be some growing pains with Jackson Dart. who said he was motivated. And you figured, all right, he's going to have a 3 or 4 touchdown game. And after that, well, his wide receivers didn't fucking help him. Especially Darius Slayton. I'm not going to talk about Darius Slayton here. You know, the year before, they were thinking about not bringing him back. So they brought him back on a 1 year for like, I think, $6 million. And I don't think he had 40 catches. He had 7 drops. And then when Daniel Jones got, left and he was pissed off about it, he was 1 foot out the door. And then Joe Shane gives him a contract that is identical to Saquon Barkley. And now you have your now you drafted your quarterback in Jackson Dart. And you would figure, right, Malik Neighbors year 2. With Wan'Dale Robinson, now you changed your quarterback room, but the one thing was still constant. You had that coaching staff. Daboll, Kafka. You didn't know who was going to call the plays before the season. Because 2 years ago, Kafka was calling the plays. They were 31st in the league. Then it went to Daboll. 31st in the league. And now you go back to Kafka. The play calling at times has been terrible. And I said it a couple of videos back, a couple of weeks back, they changed the entire quarterback room. It's the results are still the fucking same. The results are still the fucking same. Brian Daboll and his coaching said, if it was John Mara needs to make this, he's the one that decided to bring these guys back. He decided to bring these guys back. And then, he said it last in the press conference, my patience is getting thin. So the one question I have to ask for John Mara, when are you going to pull the trigger? When are you going to get rid of Brian Daboll? Because it was up to me, he'd be fired today. Along with Mike Kafka and Shane Bowen. The season is going nowhere. Why wait? You ain't going to win another game anytime soon. You have a pissed off Philly team coming up this Thursday. And on top of that, the Saquon Barkley documentary on Prime premiering that day. So, that's going to just make Giant fans real fucking happy. But there could be some truths uncovered to that. Then you got Denver. Good defense. Philly again. Then you got San Fran. And with Mike Shanahan, with Mac Jones and their defense is kind of, hurting, with all those injuries, they're 4-1. Chicago's getting better. Then you got fucking Detroit, who's going to probably put up about 50 on them. And the Packers, that's a loss. So, when's your next win coming? Does anybody know? They could be losing 9 or 10 straight. And you're still going to have Brian Daboll as your fucking head coach? Are we serious here? And here's the thing. If the Dolphins decide to fire Mike McDaniel, the Giants need to snag him and make him OC. I think McDaniel with Jackson Dart would work. Would be a good fit. As OC, not head coach. Because we all seen how Mike McDaniel is as a head coach for Miami. But you have a quality, you're going to have, I mean, Jackson Dart has some flashes, you know, but I don't think this is the pairing with Daboll and Kafka and Dart. It just isn't. It just fucking isn't. So, fire Daboll now. Fire Kafka. Fire fucking... Because this team has talent. You have a quarterback now who's a gamer. Who can, you know... You have a running back in Scatterboo. You have a fucking wide receiver. And he'll be ready for next year. You have your left tackle. If you can re-sign Illuminor, or you can, you have your swing tackle in Marcus Bowe. Now you have to shore up your interior. Your defense, you have that front four. Where is the fucking pass rush? Where was the fucking pass rush on Spencer Rattler? Nowhere to be fucking found. And especially the quarterbacks they faced in their first 4 weeks. And yet, you couldn't even touch Spencer Rattler, who's never won a game in the NFL. Deonte Banks is better suited to return kicks than being on the field as a defender. First round talent has regressed so fucking badly. And that's the problem with this fucking organization. That is the fucking problem. They are good for year one, and then year two, they fall off. That is on player development. And you're seeing it with Drew Phillips at times. You're seeing it with Tyler Nubin at times. You're seeing it. I've always said it. I want to see what these guys go from year one to year two. Will they improve or will they regress? And Tyler Nubin is now is regressed. Right now, Abdul Carter, he's gotten a lot of pressures. He's got a half a sack. Brian Burns he's been great this year. Kayvon's been really, really good this year. The sacks will probably come, but right now, yesterday, they should have 17 pressures, no sacks. And then, with your offense, now if you get a wide receiver, not Darius Slayton, because now you can't get out of that fucking contract. Because you're going to be he has to be your fucking wide receiver too. You'd figure with Neighbors and Wandale, you'd figure Slayton would be, would win his one-on-ones, and he just doesn't. He just doesn't. And that's a problem. Jalen Hyatt. Bo Collins. They were asked yesterday about little Jordan Humphrey. Why wasn't he elevated to the roster when you had 2 open roster spots? The Giants can't afford any more injuries. You're thin at wide receiver. You dress 2 fucking running backs. But the problem is, Devin Singletary is not an answer at running back too. if you promote Turbo Miller, at least you'll have somebody who is quick and can take a screen pass and get some yards after the catch. But do you think Brian Daboll will fucking do that? No. And Miller had a good preseason. So this is inexcusable on Brian Daboll's part. You know, you're thin at these skill positions. And yet you're not dressing them or even, on game day. Yes, you can run the ball because you got Cam and you got Singletary, and Cam is a workhorse. But you still need that speed guy, that can take screens on third down and do something with it. And right now, if you really think about it, Jackson Dart's best receiver right now is Theo Johnson. That's a big target. He would be he's an ideal red zone threat. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns yesterday. And he's had 3 in the last 2 games. And I think he's getting better. Now, I think if they make him keep doing that in the red zone, and you get creative, but then again, Daboll and Kafka can't be fucking creative with this offense. You just can't. You can't scheme wide receivers open. You make zero, in-game adjustments are just, ridiculous. It goes to show this is how it goes on player development. And everyone is blaming fucking Joe Shane and whatnot. I blame Joe Shane for what the contracts he's been giving out. If I'm going to blame Joe Shane on something, the contracts. Slayton, James Hudson. You lit $5 million on fire for Drew Lock. You're lighting fucking $2 or $3 million on fire for fucking Jameis Winston. Where it could have went to areas in need. The linebacking room isn't that, it's... I just think a whole changeover. I just think, and with a different coaching staff, you get a quality head coach that is no nonsense, that won't let shit slide. You get an offensive coordinator that is creative, that can be creative in the offense, that's young. Mike McDaniel would be ideal if Miami fires him as OC, or you get someone from the college rank that's up and coming. But Mike Kafka is not it. Brian Daboll is not it. It's that simple. So, why fucking wait now? Why wait to the end of the fucking season to fire Brian Daboll? Fire him today. If you're not going to fire him today, when are you going to... It has to be after week 8. We're going to be 1-7 like I predicted during the offseason. And John Mara's patience is getting super thin. And then I was listening to Brandon, BT and Sal. I'm like, oh, we need to treat this as year 1 for Daboll and Dart. No, you don't. You changed the entire quarterback room. It doesn't matter the quarterback. The scheme is still the fucking same. Yes, they're moving the ball up and down. They're moving the ball down the field. They have been. But can they finish? You know, it just... And like I said earlier, yes, they're going to be growing pains Jackson Dart. There are going to be. But I think with a better coaching staff, I think Jackson Dart will be way better. I don't want to hear like, Daboll picked his fucking quarterback. You know what? He had a chance to... He had all these quarterbacks when he's gotten here. Daniel Jones. Did he help him out? What about, let's see, Drew Lock, Tim Boyle, Tommy DeVito? He's supposed to be this quarterback whisperer. And yet, now it's Russell Wilson. Well, I mean, we haven't seen Jameis Winston. I don't think we're going to see Jameis Winston for this year anyway. Unless both quarterbacks get hurt. But you have all these quarterbacks, and yet it's still the same thing. Bad teams find ways to lose games. It doesn't matter. And then you look at Saquon Barkley. Last year, MVP level, took his team to the Super Bowl. Look at Daniel Jones this year. 4-1, only turned the ball over twice. And he's played clean football. And he doesn't have a true, Michael Pittman is, it's coaching. Coaching matters in this league. It always has. And player development. And that's a big problem with the New York Football Giants. Their player development is pathetic. Because if we had a different coaching staff, I think this team would be completely fucking different. We'd probably be a 500 team, or maybe 3-2. Because these were winnable games. When the first 5 games were extremely winnable. And you've been in every game until the end of the, But still, it goes on coaching. John Mara, you need to fire him. And fire him within the next, today to 3 weeks. And if he isn't fired after the second Philly game, and you retain him, you're gonna have more. You're gonna keep having more planes over your fucking stadium to end this dumpster fire. You're 1-4. The season again is done before September ends, and just do it. Start the process now. Just start the process now. Retain this. Give Shane another year, and if it doesn't work, then you can get rid of him. But Shane has, yes, he has some hits, and yes, but every GM has that. You have some hits, you have some misses. And the Giants, and Shane has, but it's just the first year he's fine with these hits, and then year 2. That's what I basically, like I've said it, after you have a good and solid rookie season, can you build off that, or are you going to regress? That's what I based on this year on. Malik Neighbors, Tyler Newman, Drew Phillips, Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson, the last, said that, he's had a good last 2 weeks. 3 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, he's done for the year. But going into this year, now you have Jackson Dart and Cam. And Darius Alexander looks been the last couple weeks has, shown signs of promise. But we'll see next year if it's a new coaching staff, see how these guys develop. But we're not going to get to that unless Brian Daboll and his coaching staff are fired. You fire Daboll, you fire Kafka, you fire Shane Bowen, and you go from there. I would keep Carmine Marcello. But next year, when you address the draft, you address the offensive line. You address the interior. We'll see. But that's about it for today. I've this week is going to be, the Thursday game against the Eagles, and they're going to be pissed, and the Eagles will be pissed off there after. But when you really think about it, the Eagles are an extremely flawed team. For a championship team, I think, is this a winnable game again? It can be. It can be. But it's up to the fucking coaching staff. But we'll see. With the Saquon documentary coming up that night, like I said earlier, it's gonna bring back some fucking memories. Because if you watch the trailer, it's from when he was a Giant and down into an Eagle. We might see some fucking truths uncovering about the contract situation. And then we'll see who's in the fucking right. And who's telling the truth. So, we'll see about Thursday. But, tomorrow, Game 3, Redone. But I'm going to go inside, lay down, scroll on X about how these Giants, these content creators, and then maybe watch a couple podcasts and see what their thoughts are, but listening to fucking Sal, like, are you fucking kidding me? Fire Brian Daboll now instead of at the end of the season. The season's done. I bet you they'd be better off with an interim head coach and an interim OC and an interim defensive coordinator, and they'd probably be better off than what we have right now. So John Mara, just do everyone a favor and just fire them. It'd be better for your sanity. And yes, please, please, get better. I know that you have cancer, and we're all praying for you, but just do this one little thing, and then get your cancer treatment. But fire him, fire Daboll. Just fucking do it. And everyone have a good day. I'm gonna go fucking sleep.